Hello, and welcome to the first episode of How to Be a 3D Animator. This first episode is going to be very simple. I'm just going to show you guys the workspace that I use for animation. That's the best way to get started. First thing you want to do when you start animating is to set up your workspace to be as efficient as possible. Most professionals I know start with a setup like this. There's no one way to have a setup, it's just whatever works for you, and this seems to be working for me and a lot of my colleagues. So I'm just going to show you guys exactly what setup I use when I'm making animations, like this one. Okay, so how I made that, so I'm going to create a cube. And we're just going to pretend that this cube is the character. So, get bigger. Alright, so you guys are probably going to have something like this. You're going to have 4 different windows when you press space. One is top, side, bottom, and then perspective here. So what you want to do is you would want to change the top left panel by going into panels, perspective, persp, which stands for perspective. The bottom left panel, I'm going to make it a lot smaller. Then I'm going to panels, panel, and go all the way down to, I'm looking for the outliner. There we go, outliner. I'm just going to close this pop-up. The bottom right panel, panels, panel again. Now this time graph editor. You guys might know what this is. You might not. It's okay. We're not going to get into that this episode. This episode I just want to get you to have the right workspace for all the future videos, so there's no misunderstandings. There's no questions that don't need to be there. Alright, so now we have the outliner here. We have the graph editor over here. Perspective on the top left. But we also have perspective on the top right. We're actually going to change that. Usually when you're making an animation, you have your perspective, but you also have a camera that you want to render the animation in, or play blast it, or just whatever angle your camera is in. You don't want to constantly change that when you're animating. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a placeholder. We're going to create cameras, camera, and you see that it showed up here on the outliner. Now we're going to change the top right panel by going to panels again, perspective, and change it to camera 1, which is the camera we just made. Now if we move this, where are we? Oh, we're inside the cube. So now we can leave this camera here so we can see what our camera looks like. And then on the left is our perspective. We see the camera over there. So here, we can move everything, but as you see, our camera view in the top right isn't moving. Once you have everything set up, once you have the workspace the way you see it right here, actually before we do that, just go to Show on the top right, top left panel. Go to Show, click None. So we only want to see. So we're gonna click Show again, and we're gonna check mark what we want to see, and we only want to see polygons. We want to see NURBS curves, and perhaps we want to see locators. And if we're bringing reference videos, which I'll show you guys how to do that later in a later video. If you want to bring in reference video, we also want to check off image planes. There we go. Okay, so we did that for the left panel. The right panel, I'm going to click None again, and I only want to see polygons in this panel. So if we have curves, which I'll show you what curves are in a second. So that right there is a curve. If we have curves, and usually you have curves controlling models, that's how you animate. You animate curves and it moves the mesh. That's this. So as you can see, we see the curve, the thing we select to move, in the perspective, but we don't see it in the camera. It's just, this is the only reason I do this. It's so we have a clean view of what the animation will look like without any extra curves and extra things getting in the way. So once you have everything set up, you want to go to these 4 panels right here, right click on any of them, save current layout, and I'm just going to name it Brian's layout. Oh, okay, press OK. And next time you open a new scene, so let's say for example I go to this. So let's say you open up your scene again and you don't want to do everything you just did. All you have to do now is right click on those left panels and go to this the layout you made. You'll see the name pop up here. So Brian's layout, and everything is set up the way we had set it up for maximum efficiency. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. In the farther episodes, we're going to get into everything a little deeper. We'll talk about the outliner, we'll talk about the graph editor, and again, hopefully by the end of this series of videos that I'm going to be making, we could get you guys to a point where you can efficiently work on your reel and make a 3D animation reel for yourself. If you guys watched until this point in the video, thank you so much. I'd really appreciate it, and it seems that you're actually interested. So if you are, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button to stay notified, and I will see you guys in the next video.